ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Stop, Look, and Listen. I'm your host, LaTroy Gardner. This week, we have the co-founders of Ayo Foods, Fred and Perteet Spencer. Welcome to Stop, Look, and Listen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
All right, no problem. So first off, tell us what Ayo means.
So Ayo means joy in Yoruba. So when we were thinking about names for our company, we spent a lot of time making sure that it was something that represented kind of what the food meant to us. And, you know, we are by nature hosts. Our house is often the epicenter of family events, etc. And so when we thought about the feeling that we get from having that time with our family, joy was the perfect description. So we named our company Joy.
Okay, cool. So are you both from Africa?
My dad is from Liberia, so I grew up as a proud kind of first-gen Liberian in the Twin Cities, which has a really rich Liberian community. So, so excited to be able to bring the food that I grew up with to the broader market.
And my family is just African American from the U.S., and I was happy to be married into this proud Liberian family.
Okay. Okay, so Perteet, just tell us about some of your favorite dishes growing up. And did you use those dishes to pull Fred?
Of course. So it's funny. One of my favorite dishes growing up is actually one of the Ayo dishes. And so I've got it here, but cassava leaf.
Mhm.
So any Liberian will tell you that this is one of the kind of classics or the favorites. And so we had to make sure that that was represented in our line. And I absolutely did kind of try my cassava leaf recipe on Fred to lock him in. So it worked. We've been married for almost 15 years now. So I think it worked its magic.
Yeah, and I love cassava leaf. So do our kids.
All right, so Ayo Foods is the 2020 recipient of the Natural Products Expo Spark Change Nexty Award for Best New Frozen Food. What led to you starting Ayo Foods?
You know, for us, I think there were a few things, you know. First of all, it was really driven by the fact that, you know, you walk down the aisles of the grocery store, you know, the mainstream grocery stores, and you don't see anything that really reflects the food that I grew up eating. And so it felt like an opportunity as ethnic food, as more interest in ethnic food happens in the grocery store, to bring a bit of our own flavor to that mix. And then, you know, I think our backgrounds also suit us well for this space. And so I'll let Fred talk about his background, but, you know, I worked in the food industry for most of my career. And so, you know, I've had the pleasure of growing and cultivating a lot of really incredible brands, and was ready to kind of do that for something that was our own. So really, really excited to be able to do this with, you know, my life partner too.
Yeah, for me, my background's in finance and entrepreneurship. So I actually owned a franchise restaurant before, and then I helped Perteet's dad actually open up a food business importing West African food, dry goods, as a wholesaler. So yeah, just a combination of both of our experiences just led us to, you know, believing that this product would work.
Okay. So what experiences, like from both of your backgrounds, did you learn when starting Ayo Foods?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, I spent the bulk of my career at General Mills and learned so much there, but, you know, it's a big company with a lot of resources. And so when you are doing it on your own, it looks a little bit different. And so, you know, we are a lean company. We're, you know, a 2-person team. And so we wear all the hats, you know, from research and development to like being at the plant during startups. You know, it's a lot of work, and I think we got a different vantage point, I think, on growing a brand through this experience for sure.
Yeah, and then my background is in finance and accounting. and then in entrepreneurship, as I mentioned before. So just having my first job out of college was in banking, so which is probably the best foundation that I could have received. And so being able to put pitch decks together, knowing how to raise capital, and then on the back end of how to start operating the company, all those experiences lended us well to get IO started. So.
All right. So, Fred, you just mentioned raising capital. So, just speak on the endless grind of pitching IO Foods for funding.
Yeah, I mean, we basically, got out. We had some insight with some, friends of myself and some contacts for Perteet, and we would just, put a deck together and was out there, knocking on doors as many as we could just until we got our first seed funding, which we had secured, actually with the former CEO of McDonald's. He actually backed us a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it's a grind, but we were out there doing it. We were, talking to as many people as we could in our network, in our friends network, just to try to raise as much money as we could to get this started.
Yeah, what I would add to that is I think before we were able to partner with Cleveland Avenue, I think you talk to a lot of people, and I think through that process you realize how important alignment is as you're looking for investor partners, that you are identifying with a team that's going to support you in the way that you want them to support you and really believes in your vision. So I feel so grateful that we were able to find an initial partner who was 100% on the same page with us in terms of how we thought about the business and the opportunity for this space, because we know that we're kind of in uncharted waters and that we're creating a new space in the grocery store. So I feel really grateful for the partners that we have in place.
Yeah, and having some kind of food or retail experience was a good thing for us as well. So.
Okay. Did you have any moments when you felt like throwing in a towel?
I mean, it's a lot of work, right? And so like ask me on a Tuesday or Wednesday or any day, it's funny, the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship, right? Like, I think it stretches you in a lot of different ways. And so I think what we look for is like the good moments outweigh the bad, but of course with anything it's not easy, and so you have some days that are better than others, but that is part of the journey, and it's what we signed up for. So we're trying to like enjoy every moment.
Okay, so I know there's 3 dishes that you currently have for sale. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so I talked about the cassava leaf, and so that's like the singular family favorite, and one that is at every single holiday of ours. It's actually made from the leaves of the yucca plant, so which are often not used. And so we take those greens, we grind them up, and then this one is served with chicken, but we serve it with all types of meat at home, and it's served with rice. And then the second dish is a goosey. And so a goosey is, it's actually from the seeds of the goosey melon. And so you take those seeds out and you grind them. And so what's great about the goosey seeds is they're super rich in protein, really great healthy fats. It's kind of an untapped ingredient from a broader perspective, but one that I think has a ton of potential. In this preparation, we slow cook it with onions and peppers and chicken. And then at home, we eat it with fufu. Fufu is really, really hard to prepare frozen. We tried to do it. And so we serve this one with rice.
We're not done yet. It's
And then the third dish that we launch with is the jollof, which I'm sure like it is probably the most well known and the source of many great debates. And we put a lot of love into this one. So we're really, really proud of it. And then actually we're just now launching our 4th item, which will go live in just a couple of weeks. So we're based in Chicago. So all of the local Chicago Marianos will have our new item, which is called Puff Puff. Or depending on where you are, sometimes it's Beaufort, sometimes it's Puff Puff. In Liberia, it's actually challah, but it's essentially a flash fried dough that you can serve either with pepper sauce or we have two little girls. They love sprinkling powdered sugar on it in the morning. So we're really excited to bring that item to life too.
Okay. You sort of jumped the gun on me. That was my next question. Whether or not there was, other dishes that, was on the horizon.
We still have a couple.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we're just getting started. So I talked about those four, but we've got a whole pipeline. So by the end of the year, we'll double our platform. So we've got a couple other frozen items that are coming down the pipe. Those will be in the market in June, and we're excited to announce those. And then, we truly see ourselves as building a platform brand. Frozen was our entry point, but we want to go well beyond that. And so a lot more coming.
Yeah, there you go again. I was gonna ask you if you planned on branching out beyond frozen food, like a restaurant or providing foods for like airports, airlines, things of that nature.
Oh man, I would love to, like, every time you get on an airplane to like get a little Ayo meal. So you gave me another good idea there.
Yeah, and I have experience in franchising too. So there's a possibility in the future for a possibility of a restaurant extension too. So we definitely have those items on the wall, but we're just trying to focus on the retail space at this point.
Cool. So, are these meals for the health conscious? Since we know that there's a lot of people that are very serious about their vegan, vegetarian, and like gluten-free lifestyles.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. The past 5 years I spent actually advising brands in the health and wellness space. And as the market transitions, I think it's hard not to keep health and wellness at the forefront of any product that you're developing. So we definitely kept that in mind with Ayo. What I'd say is for us, it's about flavor first and delivering against that first. And so we didn't want to the health credentials to sacrifice the ingredient choices or any of that. But we use the most healthy, most sustainable ingredients in the development of all of this. So you can feel like really good that you're going to get like a nutrient dense, healthy meal, but it's going to also taste delicious. So as you think of like the rest of the frozen set, right, and like the lean cuisines that are 100 calories or whatever, that's not us. But we were mindful of the nutritionals as we developed the product for sure.
Okay. So what's your process when like testing out new recipes?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. We get a lot of input from a lot of people, especially family. We actually going to be announcing an advisory board pretty soon, up in the next couple of months, and so and those individuals that have helped us as well. We actually have an R&D team, so we go through a very rigorous process of making sure that while we want these dishes to scale up, we want to try to keep them as homely as possible, and so that's the trick, right? And so our R&D team has been really good to us over the last couple of years in making that process work well.
And I'd also say if you see a man peddling Ayo samples around Minneapolis, like that's my dad. He takes them to all the local restaurants and mom and pop stores, and so that's our other like sniff test too. And so, and I mean, it's been wonderful to get that feedback from people who are in this space day in and out. But that's our usually our step number one in our recipe development is like, does it pass the test of all these incredible Liberian restaurants in the Twin Cities?
If her dad says no, then it's off the shelf. So he's our first go-to.
Well, we also do this thing. It's kind of funny. Like we'll put a sample out and let him try it, and then if he goes back for a second, we're like, oh yeah, we got it.
All right. So what led to you all going the frozen food route? And does it sort of take away from the integrity of like the flavors at all? Have you noticed, or it's pretty much authentic?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you asked that about, I'll answer the kind of integrity first. And like for us, like protecting the quality of the food is like of foremost importance. And so we take a lot of care in that. So literally the ingredients come in fresh. We cook them in large kettles, very similar to what you would cook them at home, except they're much, much bigger. and then they're immediately flash frozen. And so we use that process intentionally to protect the flavor. And so the quality that you're going to get on the front end is very consistent with what you're going to get on the back end. We don't add extra preservatives or anything like that, because we're about like giving you the freshest, most flavorful food. Frozen was incredibly intentional in terms of our decision to like go into the frozen space, because we knew we were entering kind of uncharted waters in terms of availability of this food in broader grocery stores. And so like for us, it's like if we sold a goosey seeds in a mainstream grocery store, I don't know if people would know what to do with those exactly, right? And so we wanted to limit the barriers to being able to experience this amazing food, and frozen felt like the quickest path to do that as a starting point.
Yeah, and to piggyback on authenticity, so one of the longest things it took us to get this operational was to find a good partner that was able to cook these foods the right way. We took a long process. I mean, it took us almost between 9 to 14 months to find a co-manufacturer to produce, because we passed up on a lot of individuals that wanted to just cook it fast and then get as many meals out the door as possible. But we just wanted to make sure we kept that authenticity in the cooking process. So that's what took us so long. So.
Okay. So for either one of you, speak on the shift in the frozen food market from like processed foods such as hot dogs and French fries and chicken nuggets to more premium options.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shift that's happening in frozen is consistent with really what's happened in other areas of the store over the past, let's call it 3 to 5 years. We know that, health and wellness products have been on a steady climb as people tried to lean towards food to kind of address the numerous ailments, be it diabetes or gluten intolerances, et cetera. And so food has been steadily moving towards kind of more health and wellness oriented items. Frozen was probably one of the laggards in that space. Like you saw, let's say, as close in as 6 to 8 years ago, you've seen kind of dramatic transformation of a refrigerated set, right? As you look at kind of all of the new platforms that have emerged on the perimeter of the store, be it things like cold brew coffee or fresh ready dressings or kombucha. And so I feel like frozen was kind of lagging behind a bit, but has finally caught up. And really in the past 3 years, there's been this tremendous resurgence, not only in frozen meals, but across the whole frozen space as people kind of revisit the convenience that frozen offers, but with a new twist towards more premium ethnic food.
Okay. So how did the pandemic, did it help business since, people are staying home and cooking more than usual? Has that been a benefit for the company?
Yeah, I would say the biggest impact was the willingness for retailers to bring more products in. We started pre-pandemic with the ideas of being out all summer, having going to grocery stores, having taste tests and all of that. But since people have been home and have been eating more or buying more from the grocery store, that has allowed the grocery stores to now, or the retailers to open up and accept more products, more different products. And so I think that has helped us quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other piece is like, after being at home for however long it's been, 9 months, I think people are looking for ways to have like small escapes, even if you cannot travel to your favorite destination. And so, for us, it's not just about frozen food, but really creating this like amazing experience that actually transports you to somewhere else. And I can't think of anything else people would want to do at this point of time than be transported to someplace warm and sunny with delicious food.
Exactly. So just let's talk about getting Ayo Foods into grocery stores. Talk about that process.
Yeah, I mean, we just called everyone we knew and everyone who they knew and everyone who they knew. It was all about persistence and connecting with not stopping until we connected with the right people. And so, while we both have really deep industry experience, both of us have relatively limited experience on the actual retail side of the equation, but we're both very resourceful. And so we just tapped into all the connections we knew until we could get calls with buyers and friends of buyers, and really use those relationships to get doors open to be able to tell our story.
Yeah, and I think the two of the biggest hurdles that we, I don't know if it's traditionally the approach that people take, but we went to the distributors first. And so we were able to gain access to both KE and UNFI, and then kind of backed our way into the retailers. So we got two of the biggest distributors in the U.S. They taste the food and they loved it. So they kind of supported us in going out to the retailers.
Okay. So where can we find Ayo Foods?
Yeah, so if you're in Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, or Arkansas, we're at all of those Whole Foods locations. For anyone in Chicagoland area, we'll be at all 40 plus Mariano stores in the next couple of weeks. We're smattered at a few specialty independents, which you can find on our website. And then in just a couple more weeks, so by end of the month, you'll also be able to purchase us direct online at www.ayo-foods.com.
And we'll be announcing a few more retailers that we're kind of ironing things out within the next couple of weeks too. So we got some huge announcements that'll be coming, by mid-March for how successful Ayo has been. So.
Okay. And how can interested grocers contact you in order to add Ayo Foods to their line?
You can either go direct through our website. We have a little form that retailers can fill out. Otherwise, you can always contact us direct. We're easy, Perteet or Fred at ayo-foods.com.
Cool. All right. So how is it working with your spouse, like building an empire with your spouse?
You know what? It's actually been really good. I know that we have some driving forces on which direction, like in any company, we wanted to go, or who gets the final decision on certain aspects of certain things. But it's been great. We through the pandemic, we just know how to leave work stuff at the work stuff and family stuff at the family stuff, and so that's how we've been able to keep it going so well. But yeah, it's been good. I mean, we haven't had any hiccups or anything like that. The biggest fights we had is some coloring on which direction we want to make the boxes. That's about it. But it's been pretty cool.
No, what I'd add is people always say in life you find someone who compliments you, who is your better half. We won't debate over who the better half is.
She is.
Yeah.
I'll give it to her.
But
good job. That's smart. That's smart, Fred.
But I mean, it would be nice for everyone to have the luxury of picking your better half in business, and I feel lucky enough that that we have that in each other, and that we both bring very different skill sets to the table. And so areas that I'm weaker, Fred is really strong in. Areas that Fred is not as strong in, I'm really strong in. And so we kind of complete each other in that way from a business perspective. So it's cool to have that not only in personally, but in a business partnership as well.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So before closing, feel free to plug whatever it is you need to plug. If there's more that you need to share as far as what's next, feel free to do so. And then leave us with some advice for budding entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you are interested in this platform, please go out and support it, whether that be at your local retailer if we're in your market, or via our website at ayo-foods.com. And then always feel free to drop us a line on social. We're at Ayo Foods on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of the social medias. And then my budding advice to entrepreneurs is, I always feel like the first step is the hardest. And so that first step can actually stop you from ever becoming an entrepreneur or ever pursuing an idea. But it gets much, much easier once you just take that first step. So take the first step and then take it one step at a time. And I think you'll end up in a pretty incredible place.
Yeah, and I would say my plug is just watch our social media platforms over the next couple of weeks. We have some huge partnerships that we're about to announce, and we feel really good about them. It's definitely going to put a positive light more than what it is now for Ayo. And then my advice would be, there's going to be some hiccups in any business you start or in life in general, but you just got to put your head down, know that it's a better thing on the other end, and keep pushing forward, as Perteet said.
All right. So that was Fred and Perteet Spencer from Ayo Foods. If you're fortunate enough to have Ayo Foods in your grocery store nearby, feel free to send some to North Carolina, so I can have some.
Send us your address, we'll get you some.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll leave it in the chat after the interview. But congratulations, continued blessings. I'm looking forward to seeing, what other flavors are coming out soon. For Stop, Look, and Listen, I'm your host, LaTroy Gardner. See you next week. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for checking us out on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe for more great content. And don't forget to check out our website at GOBRadionetwork.com.